What's Paul's point in repeating a history that surely at least the Jews in the crowd already have a working knowledge of? It is this. It is that the Old Testament and the gospel of Yeshua confirm one another. To pretend, as is regularly done in modern times, that the gospel does not rest upon the Torah and the prophets, or to preach that the gospel stands alone, independent of everything that came before it, stands somewhere on a scale between false and foolish. Let's tuck away into our memory banks just who is speaking, who is using Israel's history and the purpose of the Torah and the prophets to base his argument and his justification of Yeshua as the Messiah. It is the same Paul that institutional Christianity has for so many years says no longer has any regard for the Torah or the prophets, who believes that the Torah and the prophets are dead and gone, and he proclaims that Yeshua has replaced all that came before him. The same Paul that Christianity says teaches that the Gentile church replaced Israel. Thus, the conclusion is that all that matters for Christians begins at the book of Matthew and the teachings of the earliest Gentile church fathers. I agree on most of those points with Chrysostom. My disagreement with him is that he makes it sound as though Paul is quoting and comparing Old Testament passages to New Testament passages. And that's not what's happening. The proof of this is that the New Testament would not even exist until 1.5 centuries following Paul's death. Rather, everything Paul is teaching to this congregation at Antioch is taken only from the Tanakh, the Hebrew Bible, the Old Testament. Thus, Chrysostom also makes it sound as though the revelation of the gospel is a recent event, and the Old Testament knows only to anticipate its eventual coming. The reality is the gospel is pronounced and developed in the Old Testament, and the New Testament merely identifies who the Anointed One is. That is both the agent and the administrator of the gospel. And now that the Anointed One has come and gone, what this means for mankind. But Chrysostom's main point is that Paul clearly says that the Old Testament and the New Testament depend on one another, at least as concerns the gospel message. And that a Bible without the New Testament is only half the story. But a Bible without the Old Testament is also only half the story. A Bible without the New Testament leaves one still in anticipation of discovering who the Messiah shall be. This is a condition that Judaism suffers from to this day. A Bible without the Old Testament leaves one without the basis for even understanding the gospel, for what a Messiah is or does, for how it is that we are to live these redeemed lives, and what our faith roots are, and their Hebrew faith roots. This is what mainstream Christianity suffers from to this day. A Bible is not a Bible unless it contains both testaments. And both are given equal weight and relevance.